Mm, great question. So in doing research about imposter syndrome a long time ago, because I used to be an opera singer, I still am one sometimes, and I used to get really bad imposter syndrome whenever I would get hired for a gig. I did some research on imposter syndrome and figured out that imposter syndrome is a shade of the emotion shame. That is what psychologists and clinical scientists have figured out about imposter syndrome, that it is motivated by shame. Shame, in all my research on shame, because I was a little shame troll for a very long time, and so I did a lot of research on that too. And I help a lot of clients now in my life coaching business to help heal themselves from shame. Shame is the very visceral feeling of being unworthy of love and connection. This is the definition given by Brene Brown, the world's leading researcher on shame and vulnerability. And the reason why it is so painful is because we are neurobiologically hardwired for love and connection. We are a tribal species, and we evolved forever in tribes, in community. And so that connection is really important to us and to our autonomic nervous systems, where triggers live, where trauma is stored. So what they have found is that in studying trauma and the way that it affects our nervous system and the way that it affects things like shame, is that trauma is an isolator. When we experience a trauma, like something that would cause CPTSD or something that would cause PTSD, either one doesn't really matter. When we experience a trauma, it's a very isolating experience. We oftentimes will feel like no one can understand us, that no one knows what it's like to be us, that no one's ever really going to be able to be there for us enough. We feel like burdens a lot of the time when we need extra support from our community of support, from our friends and family. We feel like they don't really have what it takes to be there for us. And because of that self-isolation that happens, we oftentimes remove ourselves from connection and therefore enter into shame, thinking we are unworthy of connection. Additionally, some trauma can actually cause shame. We're ashamed of ourselves for experiencing this trauma, for putting ourselves in that situation. If we're trying to regain control over, blame ourselves for being in that situation, etc. Why didn't I fight back? Why didn't I say something, leave sooner, etc. Right? So the link here, to answer your question, between CPTSD and imposter syndrome is shame. If you struggle with shame, you are going to struggle with imposter syndrome. And shame, as all of the research that Brene Brown has shown, can really only be beat through being spoken out loud in the spoken word and being met with empathy. That's why life coaching can be so powerful, because a life coach has the opportunity to hear you speak your shame and then offer you validation and empathy and create human connection, which then kills the shame. I hope that's helpful.